Welcome to the City Current Show. I'm your host, Andrew Bartolotta. We're always honored to bring you inspiring stories of individuals and organizations making an impact, empowering the good in our community and beyond. And today we're talking to music advocate and strategist Elizabeth Cawein about her nonprofit, Music Export Memphis, and how she helps musicians as educators and conveners at the center of our city's social fabric. Elizabeth, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks so much for having me. Glad to be here.
You started a public relations agency, Signal Flow. And so talk about sort of the evolution from that to your journey in becoming a music advocate and strategist.
Yeah, so I ran my own music PR shop, as you mentioned, Signal Flow, that I started in July of 2011 after working for a music nonprofit doing communications here in Memphis. And so I ran Signal Flow for almost 10 years. I was working with independent artists, working with, music tourism entities, music businesses, labels. I mean, essentially anything that you could think of that was music related, I was doing PR, really integrated PR marketing, event planning for my artists. I did like tour management sometimes, all sorts of things. And I mean, for a lot of them, I was the only member of their team. So that kind of tends to be the way. And through that work, I really started to develop this passion at kind of the intersection of music and cities. And of course, for me, that city specifically being Memphis. But I was traveling a lot. I was going to like conferences and festivals, and I was noticing that there were other cities, and particularly there were other international, territories. So whether that's like a province in Canada or a whole country, the UK or France, that were showing up to these festivals, and they were creating opportunities for their artists, and then they were really showcasing tourism and talent attraction for that particular place, whether it's that province or that country or wherever. And I thought, well, this is first of all a missed opportunity for Memphis. We should be doing this. And also this concept is scalable. These places might be doing this at the national level, but what they're doing is supporting artists who are then representing where they're from and promoting where they're from. And to me, that was something that our artists were already doing. And the missing piece was the support. And so I started Music Export Memphis in 2016 while I was still running Signal Flow. And it started out as a very small sort of what just me and an idea and no real funding and no 501c3 status. And I was able to get some important partners like the Chamber of Commerce and Memphis Tourism on board for our first event that we did in Nashville at a festival called Americana Fest that we continue to go to. Actually, we'll be there for the 7th time this fall. And that was our first event. We brought 6 bands from Memphis and showcased, and it was a smash. And from there, we've grown to, of course, continue to do more of those showcases, but then also do tour support grants, provide micro grants for merchandise production, scholarships to attend conferences, you name it, any way that we can subsidize working musicians. And really, to the heart of your question, so much of this, all of this grew out of the work that I did with Signal Flow, because I worked with working independent musicians, and I really intimately saw both the challenges and the opportunities for them and for our city, and we're hoping that that's what Music Export Memphis really builds on.
You're so passionate about it, and you're so good at it, and really explaining it as well. And one of the cool things about Memphis is we are a music city. We have rich culture, rich history in music and multiple genres. But what are some of the biggest challenges you think are facing musicians specifically in Memphis today? And then how Music Export Memphis is really addressing that challenge?
Yeah, I mean, I think some of the challenges that our musicians face are not unique to Memphis. And I actually tend to take that as a comforting fact, because to me, it means that there are smart people in other cities also trying to solve these problems at the same time that we are. And one of the big ones is really sort of stagnant wages for live music. Our musicians are being paid the same thing to play live now that they were being paid sometimes 30 or 40 years ago. that is a problem across the country. And it's a problem that we are doing a lot of advocacy to try to change. But I think that something that really is specific to Memphis is the double-edged sword of our music legacy. We have this unbelievable history. Memphis is the birthplace of so many genres of music. The influence that we've had on hip hop in the last 30 years is really incomparable to most any other city. And yet, a lot of the time, we have gotten really wrapped up in that legacy. And then also, we see that folks outside of Memphis sort of know that legacy, but they don't know our contemporary scene. And so I think that's a challenge that really is unique to us, because the fact is, most cities, in fact, I'll say no other city has the music history that we do. And so it's wonderful. And of course, we want people to come to the city to experience it and to learn about it. And we want people to love all of that legacy music. I love all of that legacy music. And we want our young people to learn from that and from the industry that was here before and the artists that came before them. But we also want to create space for the contemporary scenes, plural. I mean, there are so many micro, like sub music scenes that are happening here right now. We want to create space for those artists to actually, have sustainable careers and to be known as artists from Memphis and making music that is sort of a new sound of our city. So I think that's really kind of a specific challenge here. And it's something that I think that we deal with both internally and externally of, the reputation of the city being so tied up with our history.
I also think it's very fascinating to understand as a consumer standpoint that has no idea how much, whenever we go to a bar or an event, to know that these talented musicians are making the same thing that maybe their parents were making as musicians. Talk about maybe a particular inspiring story within Music Export Memphis that you say, I used my expertise for this musician or band, and then we were able to sort of have lessons learned from that.
There are so many stories of impact. Just earlier this year, we took a lineup of 11 artists to Folk Alliance International, which is a folk music conference, but that word folk is a very, very big umbrella that contains a lot of genres within it. And we took a lineup of artists there. Memphis was actually the city of honor at Folk Alliance this year. So we had a huge, huge footprint. And we had artists that came away from that with deals with booking agencies, deals with management, thousands and thousands of dollars in festival gig offers made from just this one event. And I think for me, that shows the efficacy of what we do. It shows why we're here doing what we do. But I think that kind of breaking it all down, or sort of pulling all the specific details of this particular festival or that particular artist, to me, what it's really about is artists can really live anywhere that they want to live now. You can, like you said, have a career that you build audience through social media, that you build audience through some of these tools. Your music is on a streaming platform. It can be listened to by people all over the world. And so you can choose to live wherever you want. And that means that, we have an opportunity to build a city of choice for musicians, is how we see our work. But what it also means to me is that it's key to create these opportunities to go and get in front of industry so that deals can get done. If we believe musicians can live anywhere and we want them to live in Memphis, we have to be that conduit to help them go and do business. It doesn't mean that they don't need to connect with the traditional music industry, right? It just means that we want them to live in Memphis and enjoy all of the benefits of living in Memphis, the low cost of living, the tapping into this music history that's so incredible. It is a creative city. It is a cultural city. It's a great place to live. And if you want to be a musician here, you're still going to need those opportunities. And that's what Music Export Memphis does. So recognizing that, yes, musicians can live anywhere, but we can't sort of just put blinders on and say, well, they're going to be able to build a career here that's sort of divorced from the traditional music industry. That's not true. But what we can do is create opportunities for them to go and connect with the industry in a really effective way, so that they'll just continue to call Memphis home because they have those pipelines that we've built. I hope that answered your question in any way.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well said. And I'm thinking about when you're talking about how musicians can really live anywhere now. The music industry has changed so much since you started Signal Flow back in 2011. And so how can a consumer like myself help musicians, aspiring musicians, and those in the industry best? Is it streaming their music? Is it buying their merch? What is the best benefit for them from the consumer standpoint that you say this is how you can help musicians in our city and regionally, and those that may not be tied to a label or tied to a label and trying to go to the next level?
Yeah, I mean, you know, the answer is investing with your dollars, right? But I have a few specific ways that I would recommend to do that. I think anytime you can buy physical merch from an artist, that is going to go a long way, particularly if it's somebody that you're seeing on tour. They're probably making more money off that merch table than they are in a lot of the other revenue streams that they have from that tour. Depending on where the artist is in their career, maybe they're probably making more from that merch table than they even are from the venue for performing. So going and spending money, buying the t-shirt, buying a sticker, that makes a huge difference. And you know, there are also artists now who have Patreon platforms, who have ways that you can sort of tip or do things like that. And I would, you know, I think the way that I would think about it, and this only works for folks that are kind of our age, because I think that, you know, kids that are in younger folks that are maybe in their 20s never had an amount of money that they were spending regularly on music. But like for me, when I was in high school, you know, I had my money that I was gonna, my allowance or whatever, that I was going to take and spend at the record store to get like new CDs that I wanted to listen to. And I sort of, so my encouragement would be, whatever that amount of money would be, you know, choose those 3 or 4 artists that you really care about, and make sure that you dedicate those funds. Even if you're not buying a new album, like buy a t-shirt, or again, if they've got a way to just like join a Patreon or throw some money in a tip jar for them, do it. You know, I think it requires some thought on our part about the ways that we can invest, because we are so used to streaming, which does not have a direct cost for most of us. So, you know, I think it's being thoughtful that like, I'm streaming this album and I really love it. I really love this artist. Is there a way that I can throw even $5 or $10, you know, to support the work that they're doing? That type of thing goes a long way. And I think, you know, if we can think of ourselves more as patrons to the arts, that can make a huge difference.
Another well said statement, because I'm thinking about the last time that I paid for music and I'm going, there's so many artists that I love so much, and doing the due diligence to support them with merch and just shouting them out on social media, sharing their content as well, like that helps. And we are so lucky as consumers nowadays, but it doesn't help the musicians by just listening to them and doing nothing else. So taking that extra step and being their patron and subscribing to subscriber based beliefs for them to tip and do all these things to support them, helps them do what they love, and helps us get you know, more music from them and be able to really connect with them on that level, because investing in them helps them further their creativity and artistry. How can the community support Music Export Memphis?
Yeah, lots of ways. So, of course, we're a 501c3 nonprofit. So you can go to musicexportmemphis.org and you can donate. You can set up a monthly donation. We, of course, love that, those dollars, you know, fund empower our work. The other thing that you can do, though, is plug into our annual benefit, which is called the Tambourine Bash. It happens in October at the Overton Park Shell. It is such a cool night. We bring artists together in little mini super groups that have never collaborated before, and we ask them to put together a 20-minute set of music that is all new. The results are really magical, and they are sort of by design one of a kind. You're never going to see all those bands in that way on a stage together. And we have a really cool like super jam finale that we do at the end that's produced by Boo Mitchell, who's a Grammy Award winner and the owner of Royal Studios. And so that is such a special night. It's so much fun. We keep the general admission ticket to that super low on purpose. We want our community to come. It's just $15 for 3 hours of music. It's awesome. So everybody should be on the lookout for that. We also have a free event coming up this summer. A while back, we realized that, you know, when we go out in the world and we produce these showcases promoting Memphis, that people back home were having a hard time kind of touching and feeling what we do and really understanding it, because it's all happening out somewhere else, right? And our artists come back and they talk about it, but it's hard for the average person to get it. And so we said, okay, every time we go out and we do something somewhere else, we're going to throw a preview party here in Memphis, and we're going to sort of put the same show on. We're going to do it here so that you can experience it. So we have one coming up on June 1st. It's our North by Northeast preview party. That's a festival that we're going to in Toronto. And so there'll be a lineup of music. That's a free event. You just have to RSVP. So musicexportmemphis.org or at Music Export MEM on any social platform. You can find us and figure out how to RSVP. We'll have the link there to join us for that event and kind of, yeah, get a taste of what we do.
I love that sort of like dress rehearsal style, like preview of let's see what they're going to do out in Toronto before it even happens, and then get that taste of what Music Export Memphis is doing around the world. What are your hopes for the future of Memphis's music scene? And then how do you see Music Export Memphis really contributing to that future?
We're critical to it. I mean, my hope is that Memphis can continue to be, or once again be, depending on how you look at it, an innovator in the music space. You know, when you look at our history of really invention and innovation around music, and you know, this is true in other spaces too, not just music. We're definitely a city of originals and entrepreneurs. But when you look at all the firsts and all the things that we've done in music, I want us to be that city that other American cities look to as, you know, solving some of these problems and building solutions that are innovative and unique. There is not another organization like Music Export Memphis. There are organizations doing some of what we do. There are organizations that are doing sort of similar work, but not at the same scale, but we're really unique. And so I want us to continue to be that advocate and be that voice and coming up with these ways to sort of push for better conditions for our musicians, better wages for our musicians, and really advocate for them in a way that hopefully can shift the sort of tide here in Memphis in a way that means that other cities are looking to us and going, wow, like Memphis really figured out how to fix some of these systematic or sort of systemic problems about the music industry and a music ecosystem, and we can really learn from them. So my hope is that, you know, life continues to get better here for working musicians, and that at some point it's so good that other cities are like, wow, like they really figured something out. And I think we're a key part of that. That's what we want to do. That's our reason for being.
Amen. That's your life's work, and you're making it happen. And it's so much fun to see it play out one more time. Where can people go to support Music Export Memphis, learn more about the work that you're doing, and support your efforts?
Yeah, musicexportmemphis.org or at musicexportmem on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Follow us. You can DM us there. And of course, there's ways to get in touch on the website as well. You can learn about our programs. You can donate securely online and learn about any of our upcoming events.
Elizabeth Cawein, thank you so much for coming on the show. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.